Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're cracking the code on the silent signals of global leadership. We're going to take a look at those subtle, sometimes unconscious cues that project power, authority, and control on the world stage. It's a fascinating question, isn't it? It really comes down to presence, and, as we're about to see, the answer lies in this carefully practiced, unspoken playbook. It's almost like a performance where every single gesture and posture is part of the script. Okay, so let's dive into this. Now, this playbook isn't some secret document locked away somewhere. It's really just a set of consistent and often rehearsed nonverbal cues that completely shape our perception of who's in charge. From a handshake to the way they stand, these signals are all designed to communicate one thing: dominance. But first, you might be wondering, why does this unspoken language have such a profound impact on us? Why do we instinctively react to it? Well, the science behind how we perceive all this nonverbal stuff is surprisingly clear, and it actually goes back decades. What's really interesting here is how this just flips our whole understanding of communication on its head. You see, research from way back in the 1950s suggests that in our first encounters with someone, a staggering 55% of the meaning we take away comes from body language. The actual words, they account for a mere 7%. This really shows the sheer dominance of what we see over what we hear, and it sets the stage for everything else. So this isn't just about how other people see you, it's about biology. Adopting what's known as a power pose, a really open, expansive posture, can literally change your brain chemistry. It makes you not just look more powerful, but actually feel it too. And this is where it gets really fascinating. A major study out of Harvard University found that when people held these dominant poses for just 2 minutes, it kicked off this powerful hormonal feedback loop. Their testosterone levels, that's the hormone of confidence and taking risks, it actually went up. And at the same time, their cortisol levels, the body's main stress hormone, went down. It's just a powerful reminder that our bodies don't just reflect how we feel, they can actively change how we think. Okay, so we've got the science down. Now let's look at this playbook in action. We'll start with the most basic element of power: how leaders physically command the space around them. Right. Leaders project authority by physically expanding their presence. They literally take up more space. Their feet are planted firmly apart, their posture is open. Kind of like a big grizzly bear. They want to conserve energy, so they're often the stillest person in the room, and when they do move, it's with deliberate purpose, not nervous fidgeting. A smaller, closed-off posture, on the other hand, just signals weakness. And here, we have a perfect example of that in a really high-stakes situation. During meetings, analysts have pointed out that Vladimir Putin often sits with a much wider stance. This manspreading, as it's been called, is a direct nonverbal signal of dominance. It's a primal way of claiming territory and asserting status by taking up as much physical space as possible. A leader's hands are such a powerful tool for communication, and every gesture has a purpose. The steeple, for instance, where the fingertips touch, projects confidence and deep thought. Other gestures, like a palm-down motion, can totally command silence or control a room. Even a tiny, precise pinch of the fingers can signal that a leader's in command of all the details. Each one is like a carefully chosen punctuation mark in their silent speech. Even something as simple as a handshake becomes this strategic dance for dominance. In the world of high-stakes politics, it's almost never just a friendly greeting. It's often a subtle battle for who gets the upper hand, or sometimes, quite literally, the last touch. Donald Trump, for example, is famous for his clasp and yank technique, where he pulls the other person off balance and into his personal space. He also uses these repeated pats, and as Dr. Peter Collett points out, these aren't just friendly gestures. They're status reminders, designed to physically assert that he is the one in charge of the entire interaction. And this table just brilliantly illustrates the subtle rules of the face. A dominant leader will often hold eye contact more when they're speaking to assert their point, but less when listening, forcing others to work for their attention. They also tend to smile less because smiling can often be seen as a submissive or appeasement behavior. And they avoid that excessive nodding, the bobblehead effect, which can make you look agreeable and submissive instead of decisive. But leaders are still human. Even the most self-controlled, practiced individuals can't always hide how they truly feel. And in those moments, the carefully constructed mask slips, and their involuntary reactions start to tell a very different story. Experts call this social leakage. It's what happens when our subconscious reactions betray our conscious control. These are those brief, involuntary gestures and microexpressions that can reveal what a person is really thinking or feeling, no matter what words are coming out of their mouth. The real key is to look for the mismatch. When a leader's body language doesn't line up with their words, the gestures are often where the truth is hiding. For example, the former German Chancellor Angela Merkel was known to instinctively touch her eye. It's a blocking gesture whenever she was annoyed, even if her words were totally diplomatic. Barack Obama would often compress his lips to show he was displeased. These are the tells that slip right past the conscious filter. So this brings us to a really critical debate in the field. I mean, we've seen all these powerful signals, but where do we draw the line between scientific observation and just plain speculation? How reliable is this kind of analysis, really? And this is where we all need to be a little careful. On one hand, you have some consultants who claim nonverbal cues are incredibly accurate at revealing hidden thoughts. But on the other hand, a lot of academic psychologists urge extreme caution. They warn that a single gesture is never diagnostic. There's no single Pinocchio's nose that can detect a lie or true intention. Without understanding the context of the situation and a person's normal behavior, these interpretations can easily become more entertainment than science. So, what should you take away from all this? How can you use this knowledge to become a more discerning observer of the world around you and even in your own life? Well, here's your own little playbook for observation. Start looking for these signals. Next time you see a leader, ask yourself, how are they using space? Are they big and expansive or small and constricted? Notice their stillness. Are they moving with purpose or are they fidgeting? Watch their hands and their face. By understanding this unspoken language, you can become a much sharper consumer of media and maybe even a more aware communicator yourself. So the next time you see a world leader on a stage, remember you're not just listening to a speech. You're actually watching a silent, powerful performance that speaks volumes. And now you know some of the secrets to their language.